Did we just witness the worst major run in Counter-Strike history? Last week, aleksib's NAVI plowed through the most stacked major playoff bracket that we've ever seen, and yet we've still got the floodlights out for Fraudwatch. Is that justified? Well, maybe, maybe not. What we saw last week was NAVI doing what they needed to do, beating everybody in front of them. But when they were crowned champions of PGL Copenhagen 2024, they did it losing more rounds than they won. Have you ever seen anything like this? 49.8 round win percentage for NAVI as they come out victorious in, again, the most stacked bracket that we've ever seen in playoffs. It's pretty absurd scenes for the team that was the least picked team to win the major coming out of the elimination stage. And you would ask normally, well, launders, isn't that a positive thing? I mean, they did what was unexpected. I mean, Cloud9 did the same thing in 2018, and you're North American. You would be cheering for them and talking about how great they were. Okay, hold on. When Cloud9 did this in 2018, they played against G2, SK, and FaZe in the grand finals, taking out 3 of the top 6 teams in the world, and they were number 6 on the hard side of the bracket, starting 0-2 down and being a strawless to fend off elimination. Cloud9 had the hardest major run in history and were a very unlikely team to win it, and then still did. What NAVI pulled off here is more akin to what we saw at PGL Krakow 2017, with one caveat, which makes this interesting, and that's that they beat the best team by the time it got to finals. And I say that because FaZe powered up so much throughout playoffs that maybe when playoffs started, Spirit were 70% likely to. They were picked 7 out of 10 times on all surveys to win the major. Okay, Team Spirit, everyone thought they were going to do it, but when FaZe got to finals, you could see they were ready to win this game. Okay, and so NAVI did take down the best team in playoffs who made it through the hard side of the bracket, and they were ready to crush. But what happened? They got crushed, right? Like those Camel Crush cigarette. You can know what I mean. So basically, Kerrigan crumbled under the bright lights, okay? When I casted the semifinal, I threw in a line there to call back to my favorite call of all time, which was, they're trying to build the pyramids, but there's no more clay, right? The Boston line. And I said, with Frozen, there might be a bit more clay, okay? And it really felt that FaZe were going to come into the final and have no problem shit stomp NAVI 2-zip. NAVI, amazing that they got through, and 2-0 to Eternal Fire, who got close but weren't good enough. They beat G2 with the 13-11 finish on Ancient. Wow, that's already also very impressive. Now they're in grand finals. Not many people had them getting there. But then they get FaZe. Surely this is end of the line. No chance they do it. And instead of FaZe winning, Kerrigan getting his second chip, and I would just like to say that's Kerrigan now in 2 major finals that he should have won, getting completely destroyed. Lost to JL, who got MVP of this event. And I mean that with all due respect, but I have never seen this either. The player getting MVP here had a 1.22 rating. We have m0NESY, number 1 on this list with a 1.37 with 14 maps. No one has anywhere close to that. JL's got 18, right? You've got to give it to somebody that's either on the winning team or the losing team. If it was that impressive by someone on the losing team, no one from FaZe was here. m0NESY got left in the semifinals. He would have been MVP of this major if G2 had made this final. Pretty much no matter what happens, m0NESY was the MVP of this major. I think in spirit. But I will say that this is just to bring up the fact that NAVI are able to win this event, losing more rounds than they won because they had close wins and bad losses. And JL with a 1.22 rating is the entry fragger on this team, who played amazing, by the way. JL's impact was astounding. I gotta say, every single game that I watched from NAVI this major, JL was clearly the best player. Let's put the stats aside. If you were watching the major, I'm sure you can attest to that. And we all have to agree he was great. But this is just to talk about what an anomaly of a run that this was, okay? And of course, we had this moment here with Imma. And I'm just going to quickly sort my audio. Just so you can get a feel for this. Which I gotta say, you know, I'm not a big fan of Imma as a player on NAVI right now with the way that he's being used, but I'm a fan of this, right? I mean, this warms my heart. You know what I mean? Obviously, on this channel right now, we've got a soft spot for events like this. You know what I'm saying? Like a Romanian comes back to Romania and everyone who's there is cheering him on. Like, I do love that energy. That is Hobbit landing in Kazakhstan, and I think the Prime Minister, President, whoever it was, greeted him at the airport. Red carpet out for Hobbit after he won Krakow. Same energy. We can all get behind how awesome this is. You know what I mean? Your countrymen behind you. We just love that on this channel, don't we? Okay, so Imma also was a guy who got a hate thread every single time he bottom fragged at this event. Needs to be cut, needs to be cut, needs to be cut. Mid-event. I don't know if I've ever seen that, actually, with a player this many times. So he did have also this quote where he said that, I don't care if I'm at the bottom of the scoreboard as long as we win. And here he is, with his entire country waiting for him at the airport, a trophy in his back pocket, and no more chip on his shoulder, if you will. He can now call himself a major champion after getting to the finals. His average in majors is finals, okay? That story's incredible. So let's start to turn the page a little bit to, this is sort of a spectacularly rare event that we witnessed in terms of what was possible. And yeah, I'm going to say it flat out. FaZe choked so badly, completely crumbled. Kerrigan was 0-13 on the last map. Let's call a spade a spade. FaZe were supposed to play better. I'll at least put it that way, okay? That was at least supposed to be a much more competitive game. But instead, it was just a complete collapse, in my opinion. So we have that great moment, and then we have Wonderful, who comes out and he says, you know, I'm happy for myself. I'm even more happy for aleksib, because aleksib does his story. He's incredible, right? aleksib is somebody who we love on this channel, somebody that I've known for a long time. In terms of being a pro player, I first approached him, I think it might have been, I was doing interviews, Katowice 2018, I want to say, something like that. And of course, he made grand finals with ENS 2019. And we had a friend in common. His name is Blastifa. Okay, some of the OGs and the old heads in here, or the movement enthusiasts, or the real aficionados of the core mechanics of this game that really glue everything together. I mean, everyone loves to talk about shooting, and everyone loves to talk about players like Simple and how nuts their flicks are. This game is held together by movement. I'd just like to say that right now. Okay, so if you want to join the Boxer Movement Club, boxermovement.club, you can get yourself one of these. We had these fucking beautiful chains made, okay, and I didn't get them shipped to me in time for the major. I would have given Aleksib one of these chains, and the reason is because the Boxer Movement Club was born because of people like Blastifa and aleksib, okay? Blastifa is a Finnish player that is a friend that me and Aleksib had in common, and this right here, what I'm pointing to, is Blastifa's time on Nature Block, okay? It's his world record time on Nature Block at the time. Shout out to Blastifa for that one. And obviously the back is a shout out to the chain, the BMC chain. If you're coming to Launders Land, by the way, which Fang just said that he's going to come to Launders Land, we're going to have we're going to be selling boxer clothes and have it all on display. Okay, how'd this turn into an ad? Why am I talking about this? We're big fans of Aleksib on this channel. Of course, I've been love posting aleksib content for many years now. The Grenadier of CS, the guy who broke the damage record of most damage in 1/2 when the grenade dropping update happened with over 1,000 damage. The man who sort of was born into the eye of the public by playing on OG, aleksib, the Finnish superstar, to make it to grand finals and get kicked from his team. And there's so many things to like about the man. The guy, I've never heard him privately even talk shit about his former teammates. He's never thrown anybody under the bus. He is a leader in spirit, I will say. I've always said that aleksib could. He's not the. I don't think he's the same quality of leader as somebody like Kerrigan or something like that. He hasn't proven that yet. Still, even with this major, I'm just going to say, but he does have the spirit of a leader. Like, he really does as a person. He's able to sort of communicate very effectively. We've heard clips of him calling in mid-round situations where he's very confident about what he believes in. And when he says actually about this major that Blade has made him a better IGL, you can see it. You can see it. And some people want to give Blade all the credit. I think that's ridiculous. Blade doesn't get the call during the game. And as much as being able to call an opening strat is extremely helpful, and the prep that has made aleksib sort of a bigger, how would you say, cone of vision for the game and a T-side half in its entirety, because I think that's what's really helped him open up to be able to do something like this, which is win an entire major, right? As much as there are some things at play that's like, okay, this probably wouldn't have happened if you run this major back, right? It's a very low percentage chance with losing more rounds than you win and everything like that. He still won. He still crushed FaZe in the final. He was still fragging like crazy in that final as well, showing that he was here playing to win when Kerrigan wasn't. And that's something that I always hated, actually, about people who called into question the Cloud9 run. They never gave credit to Cloud9 for being the best in the finals. Just because Kerrigan choked and FaZe choked and everything like that doesn't mean that it was just going to be a free win. There's 4 other players. There was still a massive lead. There was still a team that has way more experience in those situations. So you have to be good enough to catch an opportunity like that. And aleksib and NAVI were ready to do that. So there was also Bit, who was just amazing in the final, but did not have an amazing major whatsoever. Anyways, all this crazy stuff. But aleksib is somebody that I've been cheering for a long time, and I think he's become such a quality IGL off of playing with Blade, and he has had a lot of good learning experiences on the way. Of course, his time on NIP did not count, but he had his time on G2, and he had his time on OG as sort of a good primer for the tier 1 scene after playing on ENCE, and he's played for a bunch of big brands, and I'm sure there was a massive relief for him to be able to take a major, obviously, for any player, but for him, the amount of criticism aleksib has gotten over the last few years, imagine what it would have felt like to win an event like this, just to shut everybody up for 1 second. So I'm cheering for him. I think that whether or not this is truly a fluke or something like that will be proven in the next few months, maybe. I mean, if you want to call it, if you want to put it like that. I think the difference for me when people talked about like Cloud9 run, for example, is their run in and of itself was so much more legitimate. Like, they had the hardest major run in history, beat the best team in the finals, all the best teams in playoffs, started 0-2 versus Astralis, versus NAVI, who qualified to the elimination stage, 2-0 versus Pain. Then they had the easy side of the bracket, easy, playing against Eternal Fire with no stage experience. In my opinion, they choked as well. Not that NAVI shouldn't have won that game. And then G2's game was very close. Monacy's the best opper. He was the best opper in playoffs. He's the best opper in the whole major. There were close margins, of course. That's how CS works. But there is a difference between those two runs. But if we want to say, so that's why I just think that, the way the team will be perceived as the months roll on will come down to like, well, how does it continue from here? And I think there's a big opportunity. And listen, they have Blade, they have aleksib getting better, and they have a team who I think could wake up now. My biggest concern personally with NAVI is not aleksib. It's not Wonderful, who wasn't a top player in this playoffs, even though he was decently good, or Bit, who was inconsistent but good in the final. It's Imma, who I still think is used completely incorrectly, and that's the part that blows my mind, that they were able to win with Imma, who, again, who says, I don't care if I'm at the bottom of the board as long as I win, but Imma is like, he's being used as this very awkward lurker who clears out every single angle, chewing up 40, 50 seconds in a round to play a lurk incredibly safe with no credence for like how much time is left on the clock. And I'm not trying to blame him for that. I'm like, why are they even using him like that? It's almost like in Gamer Legion when he was a more aggressive lurk on T side. On Navi, he's just slowed down to a crawl, and I think he's just a very fearful lurker, and I don't think he's very effective, and I think he's eating time away on the clock, and I just can't believe that they can win maps sometimes when, you know, one of their most important riflers is being used this way. That's what I have to say about that. So anyways, yeah, you thought I couldn't hate Max, the winner of the Copenhagen Major. That's right, bitches. I never left. Okay. What a great MVP photo though for JL for sure. And he was the best player on the team, at least. You know, MVP of the major is because they win and FaZe don't have anyone to contend, but he was by far and away the best player for Navi in this run. So, all right. We got some other stuff. I don't know if we should talk about all that right now. Maybe that should be a different video. Yeah, I'm just going to make that a second video tomorrow because this one's already so long. All right, that's a recap of Navi's fraudulent one here on Hate Maxing and Fraud Watch on Hate Week 5000. After the major, you thought I was done. I'm not done, baby. I'm not done, okay? So, yeah, we got more videos coming out. Okay. Right now, we've got some personal stuff happening with Johnny, our editor. Send him some hearts. Okay. He's going to be okay, but he's needed a little bit of a break. So we just slowed down on content a bit. Now we get it going. Launders Land, April 20th, 21st. If you're in Toronto, you can buy tickets. I'll leave a link in the description, and there's spectator passes left. 150 spectator passes gone, 100 left. 160 players already, all the teams sold out. It's going to be a party. We got catering all day, QR codes, Boxer booth, so you can come and buy the merch in person. BoxerMovement.club if you want to get a piece of merchandise for yourself. And shout out to ASOM, best CS2 headphones on the market. Thank you for coming to the major sign session, fan meetup. If I got to meet you, send me the photos. Bye-bye.